Hi and welcome back to the GTN show. Now this week we are going to be hearing from the man himself, Sean Conway, as he's on his way to breaking the world record for the most amount of Ironman distance triathlons in a row. And Mark actually managed to catch up with him when he was on day 102 and he didn't stop there.
Yep, plus we have the results of the final men's Ironman qualifier for the Ironman World Championships coming up soon in September, and the results of what exactly an Ironman like that can do to your brain when you've just finished it. Plus, the PTO have announced their field for the Asian Open coming up soon, and a massive world record in the world of athletics. We're going to start the show as we normally do with react some of the stuff we've noticed on the internet over the last week, starting with this Race Ranger, which we did a big feature on at the PTO European Open in Ibiza. The anti-drafting system is raising money. Precision Triathlon Systems Limited, which is trading as Race Ranger, is currently raising seed funding round with a target of $1 million New Zealand dollars or 620,000 US dollars, hoping to raise a minimum of 400,000 New Zealand dollars. They've had a big year. Obviously, they were used in the PTO US Open and a few other races, and they've kind of gone next level and actually showed that their product works. They are now looking to take it to the next level. So they want to redesign and manufacture an updated version of the product. They want to prepare the back-end system to scale it up so that you can use it for all athletes in a race, not just the small pro field. They want to make the software more user-friendly, develop motorbike drafting capability, and obviously develop live tracking capabilities so that you can track every single athlete out there on the course. So if you are interested in getting involved, you can actually get involved with contributing some money to them.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a minimum of a $1,000 investment, so if you are interested, then I would suggest checking out their website. But it sounds like there's a lot of things that athletes want to see being implemented into races, so the pressure is on the race organisers to maybe start to utilise it a bit more, but we'll hopefully see more of them coming up. This next one is a light-hearted piece that I spotted by Florent Manodou, the French Olympic swimmer, and I'd just like to challenge you guys to give this a go. He says, new skill unlocked. Can you do it? I challenge you. Well, I'm challenging you now. And I think maybe next time we're filming in the pool, we should have a go at doing this, James. I mean, what's the worst that can happen?
I mean, I'm definitely going to fall in the water and get wet because there's no way. I'm pretty sure I can't even do that on dry land. Can't even get close. Anyway, we also noticed this. Georgia Taylor-Brown, who obviously got silver medal at the last Olympics and is building up towards the Olympic Games and the test event coming up soon in August, is injured. She is out with an injury. She says, this job of mine, sport fills me with so much joy, but it can also be so cruel. After having some calf tightness over the past 2 weeks, a scan revealed of a fairly nasty tear. I am gutted. I'm completely lost and feel very broken right now. Obviously, it is a calf tear and it will heal, and she will be back racing, but right in the middle of the season with Sunderland coming up this weekend and the Paris test event coming up in a month. It is pretty cruel. We wish her well on that journey to recovery and back to fitness.
She's had a lot of well wishes, so at least she knows the timescale now, so hopefully she will be back soon. Moving back to long course, and a very fun clip which I think has started doing the rounds, and I feel it will continue for the next few days, with Joe Skipper. And I think Joe Skipper always puts a smile on people's faces, and in this situation he really has done, as he's gone in for a handshake that was not intended by his interviewer, I think, if you take a watch of this clip.
Oh, Joe, I can sympathise there. It's hard to concentrate when you've just done a whole Ironman and won it.
Yeah, it's kind of really sweet as he just goes for the handshake.
She was clearly just gesticulating and he just went and
I mean, it's better than the other way around of someone going to shake your hand and then you just kind of shunning them. So,
there's that.
You know, he's been British and polite, so we love it. Anyway, moving on to the Super League Triathlon. And now they've just sort of finally announced the new changes in their teams coming up ahead of the championships that's coming up at the end of this year or this autumn. So we've still got the same teams, so 4 teams, and we've still got familiar faces leading 3 of the teams. So the new face of the team captains is Nick Chase, who is going to be leading the RTS Warriors, the Real Triathlon Squad Warriors. He's now joined by the regulars, Michelle Dillon, who's heading up Sharks, who are now RTP Global Sharks, being supported by them.
Yep, and then Tim Don will head up the Santara Tech Eagles, and Chris McCormack will head up the Bahrain victorious Scorpions, as he had in the past year. That Super League Triathlon Championships 2023 happens starting in August, on August the 27th in London, September the 3rd in Toulouse in France, September the 30th in Malibu, USA, and then the final in Neom in Saudi Arabia on October 21st. So some exciting racing coming there.
Yeah, and some big names who are lining up for that as well. Back to long course news, there's been a few events which next year look like they are not going to be happening. In particular, Ironman Lanzarote and Ironman UK, or Ironman Bolton, as it was formerly known. Now, this is not official, but the season calendar for Europe and the Middle East for Middle East and Africa for 2024 has been announced. And Ironman Lanzarote only really has a relatively small window because of the weather out there, and it tends to be in May. And when we're having a look at the calendar, it's currently not on there, and there's no signs for it to happen. Apparently the numbers were less this year, but it seems to be quite an event that's quite popular for pros and age groupers because it's early enough in the year for Europeans, isn't it, to kind of get warmed up when the weather's warming up. And I just know it's quite a brutal
It's
event,
a brutal course. It's one of the iconic Ironmans. It's been around for a very long time, and it would be very sad to see it go. But as Heather says, the numbers have been falling, and this year I think they had 860 something competitors, which is very low compared to many of the other Ironmans that have 2,500 to 3,000 competitors. So no word yet whether it is going to happen. Maybe not. Apparently there are still negotiations happening with the host venue, etc. So fingers crossed that one doesn't fall by the wayside.
It's kind of iconic. It's one of the older.
But then it has been announced that Ironman Bolton won't be Ironman Bolton anymore. It'll now be Ironman 70.3 Bolton. It'll only be a half distance there. So that's another one that's fallen by the wayside.
Plus 70.3 Staffordshire, which was the 70.3 in the UK. So the UK is going to be lacking.
Taken away the Staffordshire one and taken away the full, and then made the full a half. So not exactly what you want to see with numbers, but hopefully those races that can be salvaged will be salvaged, and we'll have some successful races still on UK soil.
I mean, I must say that Ironman Bolton has never appealed to me, but apparently it does to many.
Well, that's just can't seem to order the right weather for race day.
all the road surfaces. But we'd love it if you came to visit our country and did an event. Moving on. This is yet to be an official announcement, but as we mentioned earlier, the closing date, the cutoff has happened for the Ironman World Championships qualifier for the men for racing in Nice, and there's one big name not on the list at the moment. That's
right. Alistair Brownlee was on the start list for Ironman Lake Placid this last weekend, which was the final chance to qualify for Ironman World Champs in Nice. And he didn't start. He has been struggling with an injury and trying to get himself fit, but it looks like Alistair Brownlee will definitely not be taking part in the Ironman World Champs in Nice, which is very disappointing because I think that's the kind of course that really suited him. Possibly suited him more than the heat and humidity of Hawaii, being a Yorkshire lad himself. It is a bit disappointing, I think. Obviously, he's been struggling to get himself fit and ready. He is apparently on the start list, though, for the PTO US Open coming up soon, which is maybe more his distance at the moment. So hopefully he can be fit and ready for that. But that's a big name out of the World Champs.
I mean, it has opened up a conversation I heard actually on a podcast. It was Joe Skipper talking about how he would actually, as an athlete competing, like it if Ironman did do wildcards for someone like Alistair. I don't think anyone's really going to complain if Ironman invited him. They're a private company. Yes, it's a World Champs, but he's not going to be someone who's just coming and being a has run. If he was fit enough, he'd be in the mix. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are on that, because you've obviously always had to hard earn your slot at Worlds.
No, I don't think I have.
For the racing profile.
As Joe says, I don't think anyone would actually have an issue with it. I mean, you don't want to see people getting that slot over someone who's qualified for that slot. But if there is space on the start list or in the transition for an extra athlete or two, and it is someone like Alistair Brownlee, a wild card just makes sense for the sport in general.
Yeah, that's what I think.
To get him on that start line, and he's not taking anyone's spot, but he is adding something to the race. So it would be great. I mean, we actually see it happen in the PTO Ibiza Open because Jan Frodeno didn't qualify,
exactly.
Alistair Brownlee didn't qualify, and they were given wild cards and they really made that race. Those two guys coming in there. So it would be nice to see that kind of thing in Ironman. But in the past, Ironman have been very strict on this particular issue, and it's basically been a no-go for anyone. It is very strict qualifying criteria, so I don't think we're going to see that happen.
Yeah, real shame. But anyway, Quick one on athletics, or track and field for those of you in America. There is a new world record for the mile, and we don't always cover the shorter distances because our sport is an endurance sport, but this one has seen the women's mile record get absolutely smashed by 5 seconds. No, more than that, sorry.
Yep,
yeah, 5 seconds, which over that distance is huge. So it's gone from a 4:12 to a 4:07.64 by Faith Kipyegon.
Yeah, at the Diamond League in Monaco, she absolutely obliterated the field. In fact, there were a lot of other girls in the field who actually broke their own records, and British records and Scottish records and national records, and they were 6-7 seconds distant of her. She absolutely obliterated it. It's an incredible record, and this is her third world record in 2 months, because she also broke the 5,000 meter world record and the 1,500 meter world record in June in successive weekends. So yeah, it is very impressive. She's on very good form coming up to this part of the season. Laura Muir did, as I said, she did break Zola Budd's 38-year-old British record for the mile, which was set in 1985. So that's a very impressive run by Laura Muir. But if you watch the race, she was barely on the finish straight when Faith Kipyegon
Oh my God, and she is a class runner. Yeah. That's quite insane. Well, speaking of world records, this one is at the complete other end of the spectrum. It's Sean Conway. We've talked about him lots of times on the show, and in fact, this is going to be the last update, as he was on a mission to complete 102 iron distance triathlons in 102 days.
Now, if you're wondering why he was doing 102 Ironmans, which doesn't seem like a very round number, it's because he was out to beat Iron Cowboy's record of 101 Ironmans in 101 days, which he did back in 2021. And we've actually been, as we've done the updates over the last 100 days plus, we've been saying we're going to go out there and join him for 1 or 2 of his Ironmans and actually, ride along with him. Well, I'm happy to say we did actually make it there, or Mark made it there, and he left it to the last minute because he was there for the 102nd one.
Yeah, we've not actually seen Mark since then, but gather he did manage to kind of ride along and I think run all of it, so maybe he's still recovering.
Maybe it broke him.
I don't know, I mean, yes, but anyway, he did manage to get a clip with Sean at the end of what should have been his last triathlon.
Sean,
mate.
well done, absolutely amazing. How are you feeling?
Knackered. Relieved, I think.
Yeah.
I genuinely haven't really thought about this moment until when I ran down through the parade, and I couldn't. I didn't want to jinx it. Almost. I didn't want to think too far ahead, because then you forget about each day. Because every day is just, you just got to be on it, right? So it's just relief. Just relief.
What's been the best thing about this whole experience?
It's 100% the community thing.
Yeah.
I never expected it. I thought I'd be out on the bike alone most days and suffering, but the boys came out on the bike and on the run, and genuinely I can't believe no one's got fired, because honestly, people are pulling in sickies and take holiday leaves to just do the same. It was a 60k loop or 50k loop, I think, with a bit of extra. So I just thank them all for that, and the community side of things. And also I got a letter from Prince William, so that was quite cool.
Oh yeah, I've got to ask.
That one's framed. It's gonna be on the mantelpiece forever now.
I've got to ask as well. 102 iron distance triathlons, 102 days. Yeah. Are you done with swim, bike, run?
I don't know. Nah.
That kind of leads on to my next question as well, because I know you have been stockpiling the Tour de France, and there's been no spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers, because I've got 3 weeks to watch now.
Is that going to start tomorrow, or is it going to carry on?
I don't know. I need to speak to Caroline.
There we go.
Well, it turns out that he did carry on to 105. This post here just saying, when I awoke this morning, I was convinced that this would be my last day. I knew all the regulars would be out because it's a Sunday, and I thought it would be the perfect day to end. Then, as the day progressed, I suddenly realised I didn't want it to end. It's hard to explain. I feel like I have a job that no one else in the world gets to have. Yes, the job is hard and relentless, but it's the most rewarding thing I've ever done, and the community that's been created around Iron 102 will be the lasting legacy of this challenge for sure. I'm not going to make a decision to stop myself. I'll let the universe decide with another coin toss.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of sympathise with him. Once you've got that far, it's like, how can I stop now? Because
you can never start again.
I'll never get to 105 again to choose whether I do 106th one. And if someone comes and does 106, I'll regret it forever. And it's so difficult. Well, the next morning he did post this. The coin said, stop. And he rang the bell for the end. So he did 105 Ironmans in 105 days, and hats off to you, Sean Conway, because that is very, very impressive, and I do think that's a world record that is not going to be broken anytime soon. Definitely not in the next 105 days.
Well, yeah, there you go. I mean, I still can't get my head around it, and I'm actually excited to say that we are going to be making a video on this. So Mark obviously spent the day with him, and I'm personally just looking forward to understanding a little bit more about how and the why and what kept him going. So if you are interested, that you're in luck, because we will have a video coming on the channel very soon.
All right, moving on, and the PTO have announced another major start list. Last week, of course, we brought you the PTO start lists for the US Open happening on the 4th and 5th of August. Well, hot on the heels of that, we have the start list for the PTO Asian Open, which is happening on the 18th and 19th of August, and another stacked field, although a bit of a smaller field. We did know it was going to be a smaller field because they said there was only going to be 20 invitees to this PTO Asian Open, the inaugural one happening in Singapore. And so far they've announced 14 of them. I assume the rest are going to be wildcards soon to be announced. But already without the wildcards, they're pretty stacked fields for these races. I'm going to read some of the women's names and go through them. Obviously, Ashley Gentle, who's probably going to be the hot favourite, I think.
Yeah, I mean, she has just shown that this distance suits her perfectly,
Absolutely.
doesn't it? So
she's made it her distance, I think. Claimed it as her own. Lucy Charles Barkley back racing there, which is great to see because obviously the last time we saw her race was in Kraichgau on her last 48 hours
like
of
two-day
European
trip,
visa.
Yeah.
But she'll be racing that one. Anne Haug, Chelsea Sidara, Laura Phillip, Fenella Langridge, Jocelyn McCauley, Marjolaine Pierre, Sarah Perez-Sala, Sarah True, Lottie Wilms, Jackie Herring, Ellie Salthouse, and Rebecca Clark. So a pretty stacked field, and definitely going to be exciting racing to watch. That's going to be on the streets of Singapore, which is hot, humid. It's going to be an interesting race to watch. Yeah,
there's a few names that I'm sort of surprised at that are going to give that distance a go, and I think we'll probably go into a bit more detail in a moment. But the fact that we've got the 70.3 Worlds soon after, there's like indications we need to have a bit of a delve into who's doing what and who's prioritising what. But I think first we'd take a look at the men's start list.
Seeing Sarah True there, she just won an Ironman, not really specialised in this distance.
It's quite a tough distance to come from.
But she's definitely jumping in, and good luck to her. The men's one, Christian Blumenfeld. We knew he was going to be on this one because he announced a little while ago that he's going to do the Paris test event, and then about 48 hours later, with an overnight flight, he's going to do the Paris test event at 10 p.m. that night. I think he's flying to Singapore to arrive at 6 a.m. the following morning, and then he's got less than 24 hours in Singapore before this race starts in the Asian Open. And then he's flying all the way back to the 70.3 Worlds in Finland. So we knew he was going to be on the start list. How fit and firing he's going to be on the start line is another question entirely. And then his compatriot Gustav Iden is also on there, and that's another one who we're not sure how fit and firing he's going to be because he hasn't really raced this year. After losing his mum, he has been really quiet and taking a bit of a break from racing. It's anybody's guess what kind of form he's going to be in.
No one knows, and obviously he's sort of put his cards out there saying that the Olympics is a priority for Paris next year, so it'll be interesting how this distance kind of crosses over for him if that is true. We've got the bike powerhouse, Magnus Ditlev, hot off his win at Roth, but again, that big distance change. Sam Laidlow.
Crossing quite a few time zones for Sam Laidlow
but
too.
Also interesting to see how his calf is, I think it was calf or Achilles, it sounded like quite a bad injury after
that's taken
Roth,
him out. And then Max Newman, winner of PTO Ibiza, obviously he's going to be a hot favourite now, although you probably wouldn't have picked him before he did what he did in Ibiza, but now he's definitely on everyone's radar. Sam Long, travelling all the way from the USA, which he doesn't do very often.
He's not left the States for a while.
No. So it'll be interesting to see how he fares. Aaron Royal, Daniel Beckergaard, Ben Canute, Peter Hemmerich, Florian Anger, Jason West, Bradley Weiss, and Dennis Chevrolet. So stacked fields there too. It's going to be another really exciting race, and it's also going to be a bit interesting because with such small fields, there's going to be a bit more gaps. There's not going to be such a big pack on the swim. It's going to be a little bit harder to work. So it will be interesting to watch. Hopefully with the field this small, there's enough interesting things happening that it actually keeps the race interesting with such a small field. But that remains to be seen. And I guess PTO is trying something new with only the real cream of the crop at this event.
But also, I guess it'll be interesting to see who's really tailored their training for this and who's actually looking, especially for the men, for their full distance world champs, but also the 70.3 world champs. There's just suddenly so much in that very short space of time.
A lot of juggling, isn't there?
And for training priorities and things. So it'll be very interesting to see.
The money is there, though, isn't it?
On to the race results, and the big race this weekend was Ironman Lake Placid. More importantly for the men, because it was their last chance to qualify for the Ironman World Champs in Nice, but we'll come to that in a second. First of all, the women's results, and it was a new name, Alice Alberts, in her debut over the full distance as a pro, took the win in the women's race ahead of Erin Snellgrove in second and Jen Annette finishing third.
Yeah, and then we mentioned Joe Skipper earlier and him losing his mind a little bit on the finish line. Well, that was because he put in an absolutely blinding performance to win the race in Lake Placid with a 53 swim, a 4:19 bike and a 2:45 run to win by just under 3 minutes ahead of Ben Hoffman, who was in second, with Matt Hansen trying to run them down with an impressive 2:41 run, but coming up a little bit short and finishing in 8:09 in third. Josh Amberger in fourth, and it's interesting because Joe Skipper and Matt Hansen already had those they still call them Kona qualifying points, but they're Nice qualifying slots. So they've already taken theirs. So it was Ben Hoffman and Josh Amberger who qualified for their Nice slots. So we haven't actually heard whether both of them have taken them. If not, fifth place Michael Weiss would have been offered that final slot for the Ironman World Champs in Nice.
Yeah, well, we look forward to seeing the start list coming out in the next week or so. We also had Ironman 70.3 Oregon, which was all-American showing on the women's side. It was Danielle Lewis who took the win, defending her title from last year ahead of Leslie Smith and Batya Beard.
Yeah, on the men's side, Lionel Sanders was back after over a year since his last victory. He won his 70.3, I think it's number 29, 70.3, number 29 he's won. Very impressively, way ahead of everyone else, comfortably ahead of everyone else. Martin Ulloa in second, with Trevor Foley rounding up the podium in third. And upcoming this weekend, no major Ironman events to speak of really, but there's WTCS Sunderland. That's the World Triathlon Series, which was in Leeds. The UK version is moved to Sunderland, still pretty far north, and if you check the weather, it's a bit iffy. We'll see what it's going to do. It is just a sprint distance though, so I'm sure they will get those races to happen, even if it is windy and wet and wild as it
we won't be there, I'm afraid,
be.
sorry.
Yeah, we won't be there, so well, the weather doesn't really matter to us. Yeah, good luck with that one.
Okay, it is the last show in which we are going to be taking a look at your broken finish line photos. So we have quite a lot to get through this week because you guys have kind of got momentum as the month has gone on. We're going to start things off with this first one from John, which he sent in actually of his son Eddie, saying he smashed his first ever triathlon and is now hooked, and that's from the Henley upon Thames Kids Triathlon. He doesn't look too broken, but still an awesome picture.
He doesn't.
We love
Maybe
that.
Eddie needs to push a bit harder next time. So he looks. No, I'm joking, Eddie. Well done on your first triathlon.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yasmina sent this one in from Victoria, and Victoria Half Gustiers, and she's looking pretty broken, wrapped in a space blanket, sitting on the stair, and it looks like she's crying.
Yeah, it's an emotive picture. I quite like the photo. I mean, not her feeling.
She left it all out there.
Yeah. Josh from Utah has this one. I had stomach issues and struggled to take nutrition in all race. The ramp up the finish line was the straw that broke the camel's back, and my hamstrings started cramping, which the race photographers were able to catch in this fantastic finisher picture. Yeah, that is a strong look.
Great finisher picture. Really sums it up. Yeah. Christian from Tempe, Arizona says, both my calves cramped during the swim at my first Ironman Arizona in 2021. The calves didn't release all day, and this is one of the finish line photos after me gritting it out all day. Also, a photo of me coming out the swim where the cramps started, and you can see he looks like his legs are made of wood when he's coming out of that swim. So that must have been a very long day.
Yeah, good effort. This next one is from Trent, or as he refers to himself, Spent Trent. And Trent is so spent that we don't even see his photo, his picture, his face even. even, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, that looks like a painful day out.
His first century ride, and that's the result. So well done on completing your first century ride. Julio Cesar said this one from Mallorca. In 2022, I completed the Ironman 70.3 in Mallorca, and the weather was very hot. I remember it reached 28 degrees on that day. I've always struggled with losing too much salt, and as you can see in the photo, my shorts were all white from the salt I lost during the race. Despite my broken face, I enjoyed it a lot. It's a beautiful place to race for sure. Just remember to take some salt capsules if you want to do it.
I love that everyone's like, oh, I loved it. Once, if you ask them at the time, they wouldn't have. But once you come around to writing it, you're all loving it.
Yeah. A year later, he's like, oh, I absolutely loved that experience.
I'm sure I did, yeah. Boneyard sent this one in from Geneva, New York. Says, just finished his first 70.3, transitioned off the bike after feeling great. I immediately realised my quads were toast and the run was about to hurt. Got through it though, not as fast as I'd hoped. Still finished faster than my B goal of 4:18 and excited to do more. So obviously, again, forgotten the pain. Well done.
And then Greg sent this one in from Ontario, Canada. For the broken finishes pics, couldn't help myself from sharing this classic picture of my brother-in-law Keith, who he has definitely thrown under the bus.
I love this.
Moments after he finished our first sprint triathlon. Fortunately, I was ahead enough to step this pic. He pushed to the finish and was cramping up hard after the finish, but he recovered to celebrate shortly over. One of the best parts of this photo is the partially pictured medical support standing idly by. Shout out to Multisport Canada for organising great races. And he's definitely got a pain face going on
Let's
there.
hope Keith's got a good sense of humour when he sees that photo. I love it. Next one from Larry, who says, this is from Texas. July is hot in Texas. Yeah, I bet. Now, we might have some translation, but apparently the water temperature is 91 Fahrenheit, which James assures me is hot.
About 30 degrees Celsius.
We started early, but it was already 94 Fahrenheit. By the end of the race, as pictured, I was broken. Cars were doing the dance of the sugar plums, but I finished and gave it my all. Well done.
Dance of the sugar plums, I like it.
Yeah.
And then Rich sent this one from Ironman 70.3 Happy Valley. I was quite literally broken after my Ironman 70.3 Happy Valley. My race started off pretty great with a nice swim. The first 50 miles of the bike course were terrific with lots of rolling hills and a couple of tough climbs. The crowd support was terrific, especially the many Amish families who came out to cheer us on. Unfortunately, my race went to hell in a handbasket when I approached a tough turn at mile 50. I accelerated down or realised too late there was a partially and sharp left-hand turn. I crashed hard. Spent the next 5 days in Mount Nisini Medical Centre with broken ribs, collapsed lung, excruciating painful chest tube and a staph infection. Thank goodness my daughter, KK, and her nursery and skills. I don't know how I would have gotten through the week without her by my side. Well, I'm afraid we can't accept the one, Rich, because you didn't make it to the finish line. We asked for your finish line broken for the photos. Okay, I'm joking.
Harsh.
He was definitely broken, and that's not what we meant by broken at the finish line. Thank you very much, Rich. For August, we are going to
leave the broken ones behind.
Yeah, leave the broken ones behind. We're going to flip it on its head. We're going to take you to the start of the race. We want to see your photos of you at the start line before things go sideways. When you're smiling, happy, maybe anxious, maybe even crapping yourself. Not literally. We don't want to see any photos from the porta potties.
Yeah, you've done that one. We don't need any more of those.
Don't need any of those. But we do want to see your pre-race, all the excitement. We want to see it summed up in a photo. So if you send those to us for the next month, we'll be featuring them in this section of the show next week.
Say what?
Okay, we're taking a look at some of the comments as we do each week. We picked out some of the more interesting comments on our videos from the past week. And we had a few on the Heather versus Manon duathlon video. Jamie Farrell, 6496, said, would love to see GTN versus GCN versus GMBN co-ed team relays. Maybe even Xterra style to throw in an extra little spice. I'm not sure we can get any of our fellow presenters from the other channels to actually agree to that. It will be interesting to see who each team selected for each leg. Maybe Heather versus Connor versus Blake for the swim. James versus Manon versus Anna on the bike, and Mark versus Hank versus Rich on Isaac. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I'll race against the two ladies on the bike. To be honest, I think Anna on a mountain bike would probably still absolutely
she's got skills. Yeah. We had this one from Nizam_MR, says, good job, Manon. And I have to just say, there were a lot of people complimenting Manon. There was also quite a few comments that were sort of saying that maybe I was a bit unfair. I haven't included those, funnily enough. But anyway, it says, I hope Mark or James get Hank and Blake to try a real duathlon race. Also, to Manon's question, why can't it be bike run bike? And that's got a few too many supporters, actually. She said, actually, it can be, depending on the race organiser doing the weird format. I had one in that race format. I'm not going to tell Manon that.
Yeah, and Andrew Thomas agreed. He said it's easy enough to look at a bike run bike with the relative distances to make up the relative speeds of Manon and Heather. I love this idea for a velodrome ride for Heather, maybe even a handicap pursuit race for your next challenge,
I could end in
Heather.
tears. Good luck.
And then we had some toilet talk.
We love to keep it highbrow on
Yeah,
this channel.
highbrow, exactly. Peter Cartwright said, I have to admit, I take what I refer to as a polyfiller tablet before my long marathon runs. I had an episode when out on a 30k run in a hot Belgrade a few years back. No more details were given on that. Thank you for sparing us. And have taken the said precaution ever since. He doesn't actually say what his polyfiller tablet is. I'm not sure what blocks everything up.
Yeah,
hopefully it's not actual polyfiller.
Oh dear. I mean, this was on the video all around stomach issues when running, which actually leads us into this next comment from Joantha Zapala, who says, you need to say poop because I don't think having to go when someone says stomach issues. To me, they aren't connected at all.
Oh, but when you've got to go, you've really got to go. I think everyone knows what that means. Yeah. Callum Notman says, hit that like button faster than I waddle to the toilet on the day I had that spicy pad thai and then did a hill runs. Great video. Thanks for talking about it. Well, I'm glad you appreciate us giving you the answers that you really need to hear about here in the triathlon world.
I mean, I just want to say thank you to you guys for being so open and honest and quite a lot of oversharing on that video. But we love reading your comments. So please keep commenting on our videos and we will pick out some that kind of tickle us or interest us next week.
Yeah, coming up on the channel later this weekend, we have the Croy Triathlon, which Mark and Heather bike-packed to, did the triathlon and then bike-packed home again. I managed to skip out on that one wisely. Yeah, and don't forget to hit the like button if you've enjoyed our show this week, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any more of GTN's videos.
Yeah, and if you haven't yet seen that video of myself versus Manon in the duathlon, well, give it a watch and you can leave a comment too.